Sure you hit your button if you want to be picked up.
Oh.
You may not yet. Minutes. Time is the football game kickoff?
Is the band gonna be in full uniform and stuff tonight?
See, I mean, I saw a picture, but I couldn't really see it.
They fade, yeah, from lighter to darker, and then the pants.
We'll have the hats, that's the only thing they don't have.
Were you there Saturday? Did you go?
Yeah.
What was your first band competition experience review?
I mean, it was really cool watching, I was really impressed actually with the 3A bands. Like, I was like, wow, I mean, it kind of, not quite a college experience, but I mean, they really did awesome. Like Arlington's band, I was super impressed with.
Arlington, Collierville, and Bartlett all have
Yeah.
rock star bands.
Yes, so, and then there's another competition this Saturday. Bartlett's hosting this one.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit different participants, maybe because of fall break.
Best thing about the size of our band is Bartlett and Arlington now have 18-wheelers.
Yes, there were
When
several.
we were
18
doing it,
wheelers.
they had 2 trailers. Now they have
Yes,
plus a
But then you have to have
that's a
somebody with-
commitment. Like, you're moving an army when you
Yes.
do that.
And having to have somebody with a CDL.
the judges actually were surprised with how well the kids performed, that how young like it was, it's a mixture of 8th and 9th graders, and that they had only been doing marching band 3 or 4 months or whatever, since July.
I mean, that's a big deal because they don't have anybody to learn from.
That's right.
You know, like,
Yes.
who do you watch to get
Yeah.
better, you know?
Yes.
Right.
My friend in Collierville was astounded that we had.
I think they're fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, I've seen them.
They are.
It's got to get them some microphones. That's all. I figured out that if you look at all the bands, that's why you can hear like the bigger bands. I mean, I get there's a lot more instruments, but they all have like microphones like staged around and so we only have like 1 or 2. But of course, we don't have that many players, so it made a difference on being able to hear audibly where you were in the crowd. Plus the people screaming. That makes a difference too. When people around you are screaming, it's harder to hear.
All right, I've got 5:45, so we will call the meeting to order. If everyone would stand for the moment of silence, and then we'll have the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Recorder, if you call the roll.
Chairman Floyd,
Present.
Vice Chair Harrison,
Present.
Deborah Thomas,
Present.
Michelle Childs,
Here.
Jeremy Burnett,
Here.
Superintendent Horrell.
Here.
We do have a quorum. Mr. Superintendent, would you lead us through our agenda?
I will. The first item is the opportunity for public comment.
Would anyone from the public like to speak? Hearing none, next item.
Next item is the reports section with the TLN representative update.
Ms. Childs.
The General Assembly is not in session, so I do not have a report at this time.
Very good. Next item.
Next item is the superintendent's report. I'm actually just going to open this up for questions, if there's any questions from the board tonight.
Any questions on the superintendent for the superintendent's report? Ms. Harrison.
I have one question. So do you have any update on timelines or expected timelines for construction of the road going to Canada Road? Going to Highway 70?
That's interesting that you ask. We're actually preparing a proposal that would be submitted to representatives from the Jones family imminently. In fact, we were discussing that today. The hope is that we would begin after the rainy season ends this year, so in the spring, so that this would ideally, this is an idealized timeline, is that it would be a spring, summer, maybe early fall type build.
Well, and to reiterate, this has been something that's always been in the plan, but it wasn't in Phase 1 plan for the high school or anything like that. This is not something new. It's something we've known has been coming.
Yes, not only has it been known, but it is required a year from August. So it's, by the time we have 11th graders, it's required by the city that road be complete. It's been in the plans from the very beginning.
Required by the state?
No, actually, the city
city requires
traffic, traffic plan.
So their
requires it.
traffic study is the one that, or their whatever?
The traffic study that they required.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions for the superintendent? Hearing none, next item.
Next item is the August financial summary, which you have before you. Again, if there are any questions, there's no anomalies or anything to report.
Any question on the financial report? Hearing none, next item.
Next item is the approval of the agenda.
Any additions or objections to the agenda? Hearing none. I would like to, this isn't really an addition or objection, but if there's no objection, I would like to add items 1 through 10 on our regular agenda to the consent agenda. Those items don't really have any discussion or topic, I don't believe, for the board. Is there any objection to moving Mr. Burnett?
Just a clarification on ESER 2.0 and 3.0 application. I know those are public notifications and whatnot. Do we have to, can they be considered on the consent agenda, or do we have to discuss them? I just wanted to verify.
It's not required that you discuss them.
Okay. Then,
Only that the board approves them as you would through the consent agenda. So,
okay.
No objection for Mr. Burnett. Any other objections to that motion?
No.
Hearing no objection, the motion will be considered approved. Items 1 through 10 will be moved to the consent agenda. Next item.
Next item is the actual consent agenda, which contains items 1 through 10.
Are there any items that anyone would like to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Next item, Dr. Horrell.
Next item, we move into the discussion items. The first is discussion action on appointment of delegate assembly representatives, and Lakeland School System has allocated 3. This is for TSBA.
Is there a motion to get this item on the floor?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. As I recall, we are picking up 1 additional delegate this year because our school system has grown. We have been allocated 2 for the previous 8.5 years of our school district. So now we have 3. So we get to spread the love and the joy of the TSBA delegate. So at this time, I will open the floor up for nominations. We get to nominate 3. Unfortunately, I'm not able to serve since I won't be on the board at that time, so there is 4 of you. So good luck.
So when is the delegate assembly in the weekend? Does anybody know?
It's typically on Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday evening, Saturday
Yeah,
morning?
It's generally in the
Day.
morning, mid-morning, but I don't have the agenda in front of me, but generally it's a mid-morning.
The complication that I have is I'm gonna have to leave on Saturday. So, I just found that out this week. So, it's.
So Ms. Harrison may not be an appropriate nominee. So that leaves 3. And you know, we're not required to send 3, but if we can, I think we should.
It's at 2:30.
2:30.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to certainly nominate Ms. Thomas and Ms. Childs, as they've served us really well in the past.
All right, and the floor is open for other nominations, so I'll be glad to nominate Mr. Burnett.
I'll
We'll,
second all of those nominations.
we have a second. Are there any other nominations from the floor? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the nominees, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Or congratulations, Ms. Childs, Mr. Burnett, and Ms. Thomas. Thank you for your service. Seriously, it's an important job.
It really is. Thank y'all for doing it yet again.
Absolutely.
Next item.
Next item is review of the emergency preparedness plan.
Is there a motion to get this item on the floor?
I'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This topic doesn't really require any discussion. We do need to acknowledge that we've done it. Dr. Horrell, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, just for the public that may be watching, the emergency preparedness plan is updated annually. We do that in concert with local law enforcement officers and our own school security and law enforcement partners in the school system. And Mr. Adler, in his role, does that updating, and it was shared with the board a couple of weeks ago, or a week and a half or so ago, and they've had the opportunity to review it. We don't discuss it publicly, but our policy basically requires that the board review it, so we acknowledge that publicly. It is a living document, so if at any time the board has things that they would like to update, that can be done without any board action.
Any further discussion on this item?
It's a huge undertaking, so thanks to Mr. Adler for working on it.
The comments, hearing none, all in favor of approving the emergency plan, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Plan is approved. Next item.
Next item is to finalize the board evaluation.
Is there a motion to get this item on the floor?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion, and a second. Dr. Horrell?
Yes, last month, the board approved continuing to move forward with the TSBA board self-evaluation. I have reached out to TSBA, and board members will be receiving those individual self-assessments in the coming weeks, and then we'll bring that back in November for the discussion of those results.
This has been our normal procedure. Any comments or thoughts on this? Hearing none. Dr. Horrell, will you carry this item over? I guess, when do we typically do it? November, is that going to be?
November is when we'll do it, yeah.
Okay, so we'll carry this a regular agenda item over to November.
We're talking about the presentation over it, like we'll do.
You'll have the results by then,
Okay.
yes. There'll be a deadline for the board members to complete it, and then TSBA will complete a report with all the feedback.
Further comments on this? Here, we'll just carry this item to November. Next item.
Next item is review of policy manual, section 3.
Any comments or discussion on policy manual 3? As always, any board member? Mr. Burnett.
Oh, just two items Dr. Horrell and I discussed. On 3.206, title escapes me because I forgot to write it down, but that is effectively community use of facilities. And on that item, there's an item that says the board shall set the schedule of fees. I forgot to mention that one to you, so I apologize. But I would like to make that one of our standing agenda items, if it's not already in the annual standing agenda, to make sure that we review those annually, perhaps May, so that we can set that schedule of fees in May, so that people will know what they are for the next. And then also, Ted and I, Dr. Horrell and I did talk about 3.208, which is facilities, and on that one, 208, similarly, we talked about, there's an item that says that there should be an annual assessment of facilities to the board. And Dr. Horrell very correctly and astutely pointed out, this has almost been a monthly item for the past several years since we have been.
It has been.
But I do want to bring it to our attention that we probably want to consider making sure we have an annual one that's sort of even right now.
More formal, yeah.
Yeah.
It may be appropriate, I mean, obviously, Dr. Horrell, we want your input on the timing of this, but it may be appropriate to do it before budget season, because if there are any items that need to be addressed, that might be helpful. But whatever you do, I'll defer to you, Dr. Horrell.
I think December might be a good annual agenda report for that, Ms. Millspaw, if we want to put that down, and we can start this, I mean, we could do something this December, just kind of a summary of where we are.
Current annual agenda item, assessment of facilities for next year, policy 3.208 in February on the annual agenda.
I agree that moving it up for budget season may be a good idea, because we have done it on an ongoing basis. It's not because we've constantly been talking about it a lot for 8.5 years.
That's right.
We'll just revise that to December.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I believe at one point, maybe in the very beginning, we got like reports, I think one of the annual reports had maybe like even small repairs to like bathroom facilities or caulking, or like there was a piece of concrete that needed to be replaced, like on a sidewalk. So, you know, I think it would be appropriate for even like those type of maintenance things that we can talk about as it relates to the budgeting for the next year would be important too.
Mr. Burnett, any other comments on policy section 3?
No, sir, that's it.
Very good. Dr. Horrell, next item.
Next item is announcements.
Are there any announcements?
There's a lot going on every
There's a
day
lot
at the
going
school,
on.
at both schools actually. So it's very exciting. Tonight there's a football game that had first band competition. Saturday, as we were discussing before, there's another one this Saturday, their second one. I think the playoff games for soccer are tomorrow for middle school. The playoff games for the high school, I believe, are the week after fall break. Volleyball has playoffs.
They have
coming up.
the tournament started tonight. They had a bye. They play tomorrow.
So a lots going on at the schools, especially in the playoff season that they're in for sports. So very, very exciting times.
Not to mention our finance department is getting ready for a theater production, and
yes.
orchestra, band, and choir and chorus are all working hard getting ready for their fall concerts.
And I do want to note, the administration at LPS in particular is required to be at just about every single one of those events that's on campus. If there's an on-campus event, there's at least one, sometimes multiple, that are covering those, and they are really, putting in the hours. That's just one of the perks of being in high school administration, if you can call it that. But we're very grateful to them for their time and effort on that.
Good. Any other announcement? Mr. Burnett?
I was asked to announce that Lakeland Education Foundation is doing round 2 of a brick fundraiser. So just bringing that back up, that those sales are still out there. You can check the LEF Facebook page or LEF website. Log in and order your bricks. We had a lot of people who expressed interest, and between cutting and today, the interest seems to have waned. So just a reminder for that out there. And then for people to look forward to a Christmas fundraiser involving Christmas lights, because everyone knows I love Christmas lights. So we found a way to monetize that.
Also, it seems like we should also mention Boosterthon. The PTA at the elementary school does what they do and absolutely crushed it. I think that they raised, I don't remember the number, over $90,000, which is a remarkable amount of money. And we take that for granted, and we shouldn't. There's a lot of hard work, time, and energy that goes into that. And we're very, very thankful for our PTA and support organizations across the board. Ms. Harrison.
One, save the date for everybody, December 10th, I believe it is. The PTO is having some kind of adult gala at, I believe it's at Hillwood. So anyways, I think it's their first annual. So hopefully they're hoping to make it an annual event, but just an FYI, the PTO is putting on an event, a Christmas type party get together. So they haven't formalized all the details, but save the date for the board and for anybody who wants it.
Ms. Childs.
Tomorrow is the Lakeland Chamber Golf Tournament that they're very gracious and generous to support our PTA, PTO, and also some booster clubs this year.
We're very fortunate to have an active chamber that is very active in our schools and our community, and we certainly appreciate their work, energy, and effort as well. Any other announcements? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.